The Outfield, a Dvar Torah for Parashat Toldot. I really was going to talk about something else. I had it all written down and everything, and then I found myself writing things that had nothing to do with what I had already written, but I didn't know how to stop, and now I ended up with something new and unexpected. In a way, it's kind of like being a parent. I was trying to figure out the term Sadeh, a man of the field, which defined Esav, and was fooling around with different commentaries when I came across the Talmud in Masechet Baba Batra, which claims based on a single word, Sadeh, that Esav raped a betrothed girl, which seemed a bit extreme and merited a bit of looking into. What I discovered intrigued me. Up until this point of Sefer Bereshit, fields don't really seem to work. The snake, the instigator of the man's downfall in Gan Eden, is wiser than all the animals of the field, and later cursed from all the animals of the field. Adam, upon sinning, is punished and reduced to eating the grass of the field. Kain tries to speak to his brother in the field, but upon failing, kills him instead. The battle of the 4 and 5 kings takes place in Ashdim, translated by Unkelus as the plain of fields, immediately after conquering the Amalquion Fileds. Avraham makes a big deal about buying a field for burial purposes. Death and dismay never seem to be far from what happens in the field. This is the point where I should probably start speculating about what makes the field such a hazardous place. Fortunately, a number of commentators have dropped a few clues, like Ralbag, who says it has to do with not having a permanent dwelling, or Abarbanel, who says it's a place where people escape when they want to avoid other people, or maybe Shadal, who says it brings out the more animalistic instincts of people. I can also risk a thought of my own and say that the field is a place where humanity has not fully embraced a culture of morality, and people are at the mercy of what in a better case scenario individuals consider moral, and in the worse, what they think they can get away with. The problem that still needs dealing with, however, is what does Yitzchak see in his field-dwelling son? I mean, when going out to the field was nothing more than a rough but legitimate way to make a living, or a romantic way to leave the differences between you and the rest of the humanity behind, preferring him over his sibling is understandable, if perhaps a bit misguided. If, on the other hand, the field represents everything that's wrong with the world and then some, it becomes much more problematic. Much more problematic, that is, until you notice that Yitzchak decided to take charge and change what happens in the field. When Rivka first sets eyes on Yitzchak, he's out lasuach basadeh, which according to Chazal means pray or discuss something with God, thus changing a place known for its failure to communicate properly into a place meant for discourse. And when Rashbam, among many others, explains that Yitzchak went out to plant bushes, lishtol sichim, choosing to turn the field to a place which grows life instead of the death associated with it until now, he's actually initiating a tremendous upheaval in everything the field represents. When Yitzchak sees that Esav spends his time in the field, he might be thinking that his eldest is following in his footsteps. That might be the reason Yitzchak wants Esav to go to the field to hunt for food, or explain what he says immediately prior to accidentally blessing Yaakov after smelling his clothes. Behold, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field blessed by Hashem. Unfortunately, the commentators seem to think Esav hasn't really joined Yitzchak's field revolution, since they later find in him the willingness to kill his brother, and the discourse Esav has is with himself, plotting the aforementioned bloody revenge. On the other hand, Yitzchak need not despair. Unbeknown to him, his ideals will be shared by Yaakov, who it seems takes the message he receives with the blessing to heart. Upon leaving his father's house, he meets shepherds in the field. When he wants to speak to his wives before leaving Lavan's house, he calls them to the field. When he comes home from work, Leah meets him returning from the field. And when he goes to meet Esav, he sends messengers to the Edomite fields. This doesn't mean everything in the field is always perfect, since, for example, when his boys are in the field, his daughter still gets molested. But from a place dedicated to misfits and misdeeds, it has become a place with a semblance of culture and refinement, but that's a story for a different time. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share it with a friend. I am Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh.